Thank you for joining me, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Maynard Adam. I had the privilege of working with Brian Carson, Kevin Shelley, and Jack Norman on this assignment, and for our project, we decided to create Blackjack. Now, when we were originally discussing what we wanted to create, we wanted to design something cool, but also something practical, because we only had a limited amount of time. And I had just recently gone to Vegas at the time that this project was assigned, so naturally, gambling games came to mind, and Blackjack just seemed like it would be the simplest to implement. So, for those of you who don't know, Blackjack is a very popular gambling game, second in popularity only to poker itself, and the object of the game is to beat the dealer. Now, there are other rules if there were more players, but in our program we only implemented one player, so it would be the user versus the dealer. So the mechanics and rules of our game are as follows. First, the dealer deals two cards to you, and then two cards to himself, just like in a regular game of blackjack, but he only reveals one of his cards so that you don't know all that he has to play with. And the way to win is to have cards with an accumulative value of as close to 21 as you can get without going over. So when he deals your two initial cards, you have the choice whether you want to hit or stay. To hit means you get another card from the dealer, and to stay means you play with the current value that you have, and then the dealer just has to beat your value without going over 21. Obviously, if you get 21, he has to match it. But say you were to hit and hit and hit, and every time you got a card, it just happened to be the lowest possible value. So if this was one, if these were all aces, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then these were all twos, 2, 4, 6, 8, that would be 12. And if these were threes, 15, 18, 21. So that's 11 cards right there. That is the most, that is the highest number of cards that you would ever have in a single hand, assuming that you didn't hit for whatever reason and get a 12th card. But 11 cards is the maximum hand size that you would ever have in a single game. But that's less important. So there's other there's other rules of the game. For an ace, it could either be 1 or it could be 11, and that's depending on the value of your cards. If you have an ace and the value of your cards, or the value of your hand rather, is over 21, then the ace can be reset to a value of 1. If you have cards, if your hand value is less than 21, then the ace will be set to 11. Now, the 10 is worth its face value 10, and all of the face cards are also worth 10 points. So Jack, Queen, and King are all worth 10. Now, the game is called Blackjack because, and I just chose the Blackjack, doesn't have to be a Jack, could be a Queen or a King, because if you had an ace and a card with a value of 10, so it could be a 10 as well, then that would result in blackjack, which means that your hand overpowers any other hand that equals 21, because that's the name of the game. So even if another player has, say, a 7, a 4, a 9, and an ace, you would still win because you have blackjack. And if you were to get blackjack, the dealer would reveal his hand. And even if he got 21 but he didn't get blackjack, you would still win the hand. There are two other rules. There is what is called a bust, which just means that you have cards equaling over 21. And in that case, uh, you would just you would lose, and you don't want that. So the next rule is called a push, which is really just a tie. So if you kept a hand of a 10-5-4, that's 19, and the dealer kept a hand of ace 8, that would also be 19. So instead of calling it a tie, they call it a push, because in a real game, if you were betting real money, the dealer would push your bet right back to you, and you get to keep your money. So now moving on, I wanted to show you the code. When we were first implementing the code, we thought, well, what do we need to play a game of poker if we actually wanted to play blackjack? We would need a deck of cards. Well, in order to have a deck, we would need cards. So the very first thing we created was the card class, and this just gave all the cards their basic variables: the name, the image on it, the value of the card, and the suit of the card. And then we had the deck class that actually gave meaning to all of those cards by using these pictures here and assigning those pictures to a name of a card in the deck.